That way you have something to listen to and study with. And then I'm going to give you some more information to read to get the terminology down. Once you remember the hoses, we're looking to make sure they're not cut, cracked, dry rotted, or bulging. My wiring is not, it's always going to be the same two words: cut, crack, burn, free of rubbing and chafing. All right, ready?
Yeah.
All right, let's go. I'm going to look at my air filter. I want to make sure it's not cracked, free of debris. My wiring harness, not cut, cracked, or burnt, free of rubbing and chafing that could expose the wire. This is my coolant reservoir, filled to the proper operating range. Cap is tight, free of coolant leaks. My coolant hose is not cut, cracked, or dry rotted or bulging, with hose clamps tight, not loose or missing, free of coolant leaks at the seams. My air intake that leads to my turbo, all clamps are present, not loose or missing, with no carbon soot at the seams, which would indicate an exhaust leak. My radiator and bracket, no loose or missing nuts and bolts, free of coolant leaks underneath. My fan shroud and fan blades aren't cracked or missing blades, free of debris. My belts are not worn, torn, or frayed, with no more than 3/4 of an inch of play at center. My belt-driven AC compressor is not cracked, operating properly, with no loose or missing bolts. Wiring fasteners are tight, no cut, cracked, or burnt wires. My belt-driven alternator is not cracked or broken, no loose or missing nuts and bolts, operating properly, with my wires, fasteners, tight, not loose. My belt-driven water pump is also securely fastened with no loose or missing nuts and bolts, free of coolant leaks at the seams. From there, this is my tractor frame. I want to make sure it's not cracked, no dents or illegal weld repairs or excessive rust. My fuel filter is securely fastened to the frame, no loose or missing bolts, free of fuel leaks at the seams. My fuel hoses aren't cut, cracked, or dry rotted or bulging, with fittings and hose clamps tight, free of fuel leaks at the seams. My splash guard, securely mounted, not cracked or missing. My leaf spring hangers, securely mounted to the frame with no loose or missing nuts and bolts, not cracked. Bushings not dry rotted or missing. My leaf springs, not cracked, shifted or missing, securely fastened to the axle with U-bolts with no missing bolts underneath. My shock absorber, securely mounted top and bottom, no loose or missing nuts and bolts. My bushings not dry rotted or missing. It's oil filled, so I want to make sure there's no oil leaks at the seams. I'm going to look at all my suspension parts and U-bolt saddles for any shininess, which would indicate a loose suspension. My air brake chamber hose, it's not cut, cracked, or dry rotted, or with fittings tight, free of audible air leaks. My ABS wire, it's not cut, cracked, or burnt, free of rubbing and chafing that could expose the wire. My brake chamber and C-clamp are not cracked or broken, no loose or missing nuts and bolts, free of audible air leaks. My push rod and slack adjuster have a pin and cotter key in place with no more than 1 inch of free play or past 90 degrees when brakes are depressed. In order to check that, I would need an assistant, but these are self-adjusting. My inner hub seal, free of oil leaks. My brake pads, not cracked or missing, no less than 1/4 of an inch, which is considered dangerously thin, free of oil and grease. My brake drum, no loose or missing bolts, not cracked, no illegal weld repairs, no heat distortion. My brake drum, my rim and bead flange are not cracked, dented, or have any illegal weld repairs. My tire sidewalls, free of abrasions, bubbles, or cuts. Takes me to the top tread. I want to make sure it's wearing evenly. Uneven wear would be an indication of a suspension or an alignment issue. Free of foreign objects in the groove that could puncture or damage my tire. no less than 4/32 of tread depth. These cannot be recapped. My valve stem and cap are straight, properly inflated to 95 to 98 psi. My outside rim and bead flange aren't cracked, dented, or have illegal weld repairs. My lug nuts and spacers aren't cracked or missing, free of rust trails or shiny threads, which would indicate a loose lug nut, with no distortion or cracking coming from the bolt holes. My outer hub seal, no loose or missing bolts, free of leaks at the seams, filled to the proper levels.